And from there, we're going to end this episode on the wish list, our Prince Estate wish list. And this episode, what I would like to see done is a box set, not focused on a particular, especially with this particular era, because the songs overlap. And I mean, from 93 to 95, or even into 96, there were a lot of songs recorded that just overlapped because it was like, oh, well, it was going to be on this album. Nope, it ended up on this album. Or it was going to this close to being on this next album. Nope, now it's in the vault. Or, it was so many songs, such a really crazy but interesting period. And given that we're talking about Prince on this, that's the thing that made it even more interesting. And what I would like to see is a box set of the 93 to 95 recording sessions. And like I said, with this one, because you'll still have stuff that appeared on albums like Come and The Gold Experience and things like that, or even Emancipation or Chaos and Disorder. You have songs that were featured on those albums or ended up on those albums, but to do those individual albums as box sets, they run too close together. Because remember, at one point, Come and The Gold Experience were Prince's original plan was to have them come out the same day, a la, I don't know, Kanye or, think, what is it? Frank Ocean has done it, put two albums out at the same time. Beyonce has put two albums out at the same time. So that was unheard of for 1993 or even 1996 for that matter. So to do a Sessions era box set instead of focusing on an individual album, especially this one that's so, where even within that span of time, four, maybe count seven because Emancipation was a 3-album set. But you had at least 4 albums running, concurrently, as far as, the availability of material. There's a set, a popular bootleg set called The Dawn. To me, that is the best template. You can look it up online and see what the track listings are. Maybe not those particular mixes. In fact, a lot of people think Prince did that and bootlegged his own stuff, but this was somebody like a fan that just knew how to mix and sequence songs well, put that together. But that's an excellent template for this box set. But you would go even further, because I would make it maybe more than 3 CDs. I would make it maybe 4 or 5. Or whatever the standard is. You got 1, 2, so about maybe 5, 6 CDs that you can do, because you also have multiple versions of things, different mixes of things, things that were edited that did get released, but they work better when you make it into a single whole track. Things of that nature. Like I said, there's different versions of Come. There's different versions of Most Beautiful Girl in the World. I could just, we can spend a whole episode just talking about what could be on it. In fact, leave me a comment. Let me know if you would like to see that as either a Patreon exclusive or a topic for a future episode of Purple Notes Unveiled. But not only just because of the songs, but the history behind that. You have where Prince is dissatisfied with the, sort of history-making record contract that he made. The famous $100 million contract. Was very dissatisfied at what was at the top of the mountain and couldn't get out of it easily. So he changed his name to the unpronounceable symbol, and then later writing slave across the cheek and everything. And, while we were all trying to make sense out of it, whether we were just trying to make sense out of it, whether we were trying to, whether folks were laughing at it or they thought it was weird, it put a lot of people off Prince, people jumped off the bandwagon. It was a pretty heavy period. Trying to sort all that out. What does it all mean? But he was trying to get out of his record contract. So, but when you look at how successful that tactic ended up being, first starting in 96, and then the last piece of one of the last pieces of the puzzle was getting the publishing. That was 2000. So that allowed him to change his name back to Prince on that level. Then the eventual fight and acquisition of his master recordings, of his, Warner Brothers material. So when you look at the accomplishments over the years, then it puts that whole name change and everything behind it in a better perspective. And he comes out the hero in that. So to be honest, it's not really recognizing a specific album, but to recognize that particular point in history where you're acknowledging or documenting historically the name change, the reasons why the name was changed, the ups, the downs, what songs were being recorded, the book of essays to analyze, like, what was he going through, what was he thinking and how was he feeling, to document that in the, the sort of book of historical information that would come with it. Not, and of course, some very, very great photographs. Also, historical notes. You get Dwayne Tudor in, provide the studio, the notes on when what was recorded and how and why and when and where and things of that nature. Some really great live performances that could make up again, your extra CDs, your 6th, 7th, or 8th CD of live, the last 2 or 3 discs being live performances, the Blu-ray, this stuff, music videos that you can add to it. Just the whole Glam Slam Ulysses. You could probably include The Undertaker in that. I mean, you could make this a really massive box set. And I would probably say go no more than 10 discs. Or what you could do if you have something like The Undertaker, The Sacrifice of Victor, those two where they're really the videos. That could be the single Blu-ray. That's your single Blu-ray right there. And then any actual music videos, that's your Blu-ray. If there is a live performance that was professionally shot that you can clean up, that's your Blu-ray. All of that on one Blu-ray. You could probably fit on one Blu-ray. Like I said, lots of legendary concerts from that period, whether at Glam Slam, whether over in Europe. You can probably include the Act 2, you probably could, or whatever was going on between. Recently, I was listening to the concert at the DNA Lounge in San Francisco. This is from '93. Prince was fighting the cold, and you can hear it in the voice. But I liked a lot of sounds on that. I liked the band, the way they were flowing. I liked some of the song choices. Pretty good flow to the concert. You could include that as part of it. If you didn't, if you wanted to save an Act 2 show for the Symbol album box set or some kind of standalone, you can do it that way. But again, there's so many memories. To me, I always call it my second favorite Prince era. Like I said, everybody has their favorite, but me, I like the evolution. And like I said, even if there was an album I didn't care for, he would come back with the next one, or at least if nothing else, the next album would be even more interesting than the one I wasn't feeling, or maybe take two albums. But, kind of after Diamonds and Pearls and then after the Symbol album, for me, I think kind of when it started with the name change, and then I think later that summer there was Mate's letter to Controversy Magazine talking about what he was doing in the studio. And I think that was the first thing, that right there was the thing that made me go, oh, okay, this is going to be deep. This is going to be interesting. And because to me, it brought back the mysterious, like that period, like 1983 and that Rolling Stone article, it's the Rolling Stone with Prince and Vanity on the cover. That article best personifies the myth, because that's all we had in 1983. He wasn't doing a lot of interviews, and what few interviews he did, he wasn't as open as what a lot of you fans were used to experiencing Prince in real time from, say, 1997 forward. Wasn't as open, but that mysterious, the cryptic answers, and is he black, is he white, is he this, is he that whole thing, that's the thing that drew us in. That's marketing 101. That sold for us. And that article, if I remember it correctly, like I said, it personified the myth. Because even as we got deeper as Prince fans, even though he wasn't doing interviews, we got a lot better at connecting the dots. So like post Purple Rain, and especially Sign of the Times to, like, say, Batman, we got a lot better at connecting the dots. At like, okay, we kind of figuring out what this cat is about and where he is. So that, starting, like I said, with that letter from Maite to Controversy, that was the thing. Is like, okay, this is getting interesting again. Okay, I'm with that. I enjoyed really I enjoyed the Diamonds and Pearls videos. That was the thing that really sold me on that album. Kind of the same thing with the Symbol album. It's the 3 Chains of Gold. All the music videos, I enjoyed the album better with the videos. So it was great to kind of go back and see, like, okay, he's really in on the songs this time. Not to say that he wasn't with the last two, but this, like I said, is kind of going back to basics. Like, okay, well, now he's changed the lineup of the new power generation again, and he's focusing on these songs, and they all have a particular meaning. They have some kind of a purpose, a theme, and it's like, okay, so I'm in on that. And as it was kind of unfolding, even though the frustration was the battle with the record label, because we weren't getting, it was contractually obligated product, like Come and then Chaos and Disorder, even though they have a lot of enjoyable songs, and I don't have a problem with those albums. I do enjoy those albums, but where the Gold Experience was the one he intended. Emancipation was the intended album. So it was frustrating not getting those type of albums on a consistent basis. But like I said, if you put it in that, like I said, all of those songs in that context, and then just issue Come, the Gold Experience, Chaos and Disorder, Emancipation, just as standalone remasters and packaging, maybe include one bonus disc of the highlights from this box set. I think that would be a great selling point and a more economical selling point. But yeah, for the diehards and the ones, where, okay, we got to go in on these box sets, we got to support these things, or we got to have these things in our collection. I think this would be, number one, it would be unique. Number two, it would focus on an era that doesn't necessarily have to do with the classic 80s era. So you have a lot of fans that'll be on board just for that alone. Like I said, just the wealth of material, both the studio and the live performances again, this is something that's unique. It's special for Prince fans in general. Either the songs themselves or a lot of those shows people have a fondness for, whether they were experiencing it in real time in one way, shape, or form, or whether as their Prince fandom grew and they started looking back and discovering these bootlegs or discovering certain albums, again, and like I said, the whole journey of Prince, you got this documented as this transitionary period where this sets the stage. It separates what he was to what he was about to become even later in life. And I think just to document that transition as opposed to each individual album, I think it would be, like I said, too much material overlaps to make it work in that regard. So with those, and not everything needs a 10 CD box set. Not everything needs one. No, not every album. I mean, I don't care if there's stuff in the vault that makes, that I would probably rather have had on planet Earth. But it doesn't need a box set to me, like I said, there's just some things where just do the sessions, in this case, 93 to 95 or 96. Something like that Planet Earth era, so 2006 to 2007, just do a box set on the sessions and just issue the remastered album. And again, I don't know if that would be a 2 or 3 CD set, depending on how many songs he recorded in that span of time. But take the highlights and make a bonus disc for the standalone CD. But like I said, the main focus is just on that specific era, and it doesn't have to spotlight a specific album. But what do you think? Is this one of your favorite eras? Would you like to see it represented as an era as opposed to standalone albums, each one getting a box set, even though the material overlaps because the original sequencing was this song that ended up on Gold Experience, or this song was taken off of Come and ended up on Chaos and whatever? What do you think? Leave me a comment and let me know your thoughts. And that's going to end this episode. If you enjoyed this video, hit like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and get notification on future episodes on the Modern Communications channel, or become a Patreon supporter and get early access to content as well as bonus content exclusive to the channel. Peace.